Welcome to Double A Chattery.
Amanda,
Mhm.
can I tell you how seen I have felt in the past few weeks?
Tell me why.
So we posted a picture of me the other week where I brought my shoes to work,
Yes.
and they were a little mismatched. And in that post, the responses, I was so amazed about the Me Too, the Me
Me
Too
too, mismatched
movement.
shoes.
It's a movement, Amanda. It really is.
Yes.
But I mean, so many people talked about, happened to me twice, and people talking about it was like different, a brown one and a blue one, or different size heels, and I really felt so seen that it wasn't just me.
It wasn't just you. And sometimes also people were saying, I took the shoes with me to something or other. I wasn't even in my own city. Opened the box. The shop had given me the wrong shoes.
Oh, I mean, can you imagine hilarity ensues.
I
Yeah.
did Hilarity in Shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I did Who Do
Oh.
You Think You Are, where they trace your family tree. And I was in Tasmania, and I was on this tiny, tiny island called Sarah Island, where convicts so you have to be a so-called criminal, so-called, to be taken to Tasmania. And if you were creating problems within that colony, you were taken to Sarah Island to be punished. So could they make your world any smaller?
A
And my
troublemaking place is what you're
terrible.
saying. Yeah.
My relative was in solitary confinement on that island, which is at the arse end of the earth, to all intents and purposes for the Europeans. And I was told to bring along a certain variety of clothes, blah, blah. So I went to the shop and bought just some running shoes, opened the box up, 2 left shoes. And all I could do all day was whinge about these 2 left shoes as I'm hearing the story of my ancestor.
Hard
who was
labor
was whipped within inches of his life, almost died, hearing that terrible story. And I'm going, yeah, but I've got the 2 wrong shoes. It made me feel shallow. Shoes can bring you unstuck.
Shoes are an important part of our world.
Aren't they
Amanda.
just? Aren't they just?
Oh,
Let's get on to the juicy stuff.
let's get on to the juicy stuff. Spoiler alert, we went and saw Wuthering Heights.
And we will be discussing various parts of the plot. If you would rather listen to this after you've seen it or any of those things, be aware. In 1978, Kate Bush took the world and teenage hearts by storm with that song. I didn't even really know the storyline. All I knew was this obsessive love, and she's calling out to him, and she can't live without him.
I loved the whole, and it was at the beginning of videos, like music videos as
Yep.
well. And I just remember, Kate Bush being this ethereal voice, and totally romantic, but had no idea of the backstory.
No, and that's all we knew of Heathcliff, really, and Catherine and their story in Wuthering Heights. Because how many of us were going to read Emily Bronte?
I did not.
No, and some of us
No.
read Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre and all the other ones, and they were all very different stories to this dark, gnarly tale. So, as I said, from Kate Bush until a couple of months ago, we started to see the trailer for this film.
What should you do, Heathcliff? If you were rich?
Suppose I'd do what all rich men do. Live in a big house. And be cruel to my servants. Take a wife.
A wife? What wife?
Heathcliff. You're not enough. Not for her.
Street asked me to marry him.
Etc., etc.
Etc.
So let's talk about what we thought of the film, and then I'd read something that I saw in the Washington Post about how we should feel about Heathcliff in this film.
What did you think, Amanda?
I really loved the film. It was dark, it was claustrophobic, it was menacing, it was violent, it was sordid, parts of it hugely repellent. So why wouldn't I like it?
You've just, what an endorsement. Wow.
But I loved, as I'm sure a lot of people have loved, is the obsessive, ugly nature of their attraction. It's the obsession above all else. They wanted to peel each other's skin off. And I found it so darkly compelling. How about you? Needed more songs?
A little ditty. No, I thought the cinematically it was beautiful. It was, in the outfits, the costumes, they were all like, it was just visually amazing. But that obsessiveness, the cruelty of both Catherine and Heathcliff, and how they just ran roughshod over all the people that they said that they cared about, each other included, through the whole movie, through the whole story, and at the end of it, I just I all I could see was the harm that was done. Like it was not titillating for me.
What's interesting, I think, is that a lot of people have gone along to this film, probably me included, who expected Heathcliff to be this Byronic kind of character. The classic from Jane Eyre, for example, that her sister wrote, where he's dark and broody, but has a heart of gold, and like Mr. Darcy, hard, distant, but only because he loves her so much, and has a heart of gold. Heathcliff, in the original book, and which I haven't read, but I've read about it, and that's could I get more meta?
Yes, as good as it gets.
As good as it gets. Was dark, brooding, ugly, with no redeeming features. So I was going to say, apart from his obsession with Catherine, but that's not a redeeming feature either.
No.
But a lot of people were expecting there to be some morality to the tale, or some something that you could hold on to. As you said, everyone pretty much is unlikable, but that was the novel, and that's what people are going, hang on, what story is this? I'll read you what the Washington Post has said. Wuthering Heights, the novel by Emily Bronte, was published in 1847, and critics did not immediately know what to make of it. One called it wild, confused, disjointed, improbable, but also full of considerable power. The biggest issue for contemporaneous reviewers was the novel's lack of moral centre. Nobody is good, no lessons are learnt. And they're saying here that Wuthering Heights has brought about the birth or the rebirth of the toxic boyfriend. And this is the stuff that you and I love to discuss, is it okay in a film to love the toxic boyfriend? And is this an innate thing in women that they like the bad boy? Over to you as a psychologist. You've also been a family therapist, haven't you?
Well, I've worked with families, but I wouldn't say that that's kind of my area of expertise. But I do think it's, the question that I have is that, can you watch that film and then go, and leave it at the theater? Can you read a book? Like, could you read Wuthering Heights and then leave that book and still, what are you going to, how is it going to affect you in relationship? And, you and I were talking about this, is that, we might have this picture of this, man who is strong and maybe, has a cruel streak but never uses it with you, and
Yes, keep talking, Anita.
Yeah, I know, yeah, and then no, and then has, and is all broody and and we might find that attractive, but quite frankly, like, you want them to be broody about you, but you don't want them to be all broody about the that their bike parts hadn't come in, or they're broody about that they can't play tennis anymore because they have tennis elbow. That's not that's not quite as sexy.
That's not sexy brooding.
That's not sexy brooding.
So do you think if we see a film and like the cut of someone's jib in the film and the desire of it, that makes us seek it out in real life, or do we know the difference? And can that work in real life? Can it work in real life?
Yeah. And this is my question, is that if you see an attractive man is it, does your attraction to them grow when they start talking and they're mean and kind of cruel and maybe unavailable, and they, is that sexy? Or if you see a really attractive guy and he talks to you and he's kind and he's compassionate and he's interested in you, I mean,
This has been the bane of nice men. Good guys finish last has been the trope of good guys for years, who say it's not fair. I'm nice, I'm available, I'm
Yeah.
considerate,
Yeah.
but they you can kick against those things as a woman. You don't see them as sexy.
And so you and I have started to have this conversation, which is, I have a theory, Amanda, is that every woman, heterosexual woman, dates a bad boy. And that when I raised this theory with you, you went, no.
I haven't. I'm
You
still
haven't?
waiting.
Are you?
No, I
Oh.
haven't. Or I haven't had a big range of ex-boyfriends, maybe 2 or 3, and they've all been very nice men who I'm still friends with.
See, I like, my theory is that women date a bad boy, and which I did when I was much younger. And I remember when I broke up with him, it was ugly, and I remember thinking, wow, I have missed, I've dodged a bullet with this, and that I got out relatively unscathed from that relationship. And I remember thinking, I don't ever want to do that again. And so I kind of felt as though I'd learned my lesson. And I think that my theory is that, women, they date the bad boy and then they kind of go like me, oof, I never want to do that again. Or it's kind of like, this is my pattern until I figure it out, is that I'm going to date bad boy after bad boy, and ignore the kind men, that are out there. And I'm with you in thinking that it can be titillating, but does it make for a lasting relationship? Do you know anybody who is in maybe we can ask the teacups too. Do you know anybody who's in one of those chaotic, obsessive relationships that last?
That last. Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. Is there a correlation between someone who is so desirous of you that they will do anything, which is in this film? Is there a danger in wanting that? Is there a correlation between that and women who find themselves in situations of domestic violence?
Oh, absolutely. Like the cruelty that Heathcliff showed in this movie. There was one part that really struck me. And again, spoiler alert, is that he's doing this. I'm hesitant to even call it consent, but he's with this young, very naive woman, and he's going to go and marry her to go and make Catherine jealous. And he's saying, do you want me to go ahead? Do you want me? And she's like, yes, in this very naive way. And he says, I will never love you. I will marry you.
I'll think of Catherine every minute we're together. Do you still want us to go ahead? But he's this handsome Jacob Elordi looking into her face, and she's just going, yes, I don't care, yes.
And the next day, I'm teaching these graduate students about consent, and I'm thinking, this is so uncomfortable. Watching that scene was so uncomfortable. It was honest. He was telling her exactly who he was, and she was agreeing to it. But it wasn't. Oh God! I mean, she was so vulnerable, and it just broke my heart watching it.
Here's another take. This is someone saying, maybe the question isn't why do we like bad boys? Maybe it's why are we so uncomfortable admitting that desire isn't tidy, moral, or sensible, especially for women.
Oh, so the scenes around the sitting on the
eggs, the viscosity of the eggs, and running their fingers through, and the fingers in each other's mouths. It's not the usual orchestrated sexual tension that we see, but neither is obsessive sex, which I just think sounds so. When you see it, you think, oh my God, how delicious. But I'm not expecting that that's what happens in real life. Does it matter that a film is portraying this? Because this is another thing. Let me throw this at you. This was also in the Wuthering Heights, also in the Washington Post article. This isn't love, actually, but try telling that to a 19-year-old lit major on her first Bronte acid trip.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that we all kind of want the idea of love, but actually maybe what we're thinking about is the idea of lust. And I think many relationships start off with that you can't keep your hands off each other. You are obsessively thinking of them. You just you can't get enough of each other. But in most relationships, that period ends, and that might end after a night, but it also could end after. Like, I think that in many ways it's unsustainable. So usually after some time, there's this moment where you've just been obsessed, lustful and amazing, and then you either, like, you probably need to kind of part from each other in a sense and kind of take a break. And most relationships, I think, fail in not negotiating that. We've been attached at the hip, and we need to separate.
What do you mean by separate?
So it's if you think about it as being a dance, that you don't even notice that your partner's stepping on your toes. You're so lusty after each other. You're having this amazing time, and then at some point you're kind of saying, okay, well, I actually need a bit
of the toilet.
Yeah, I need to go to work. There's something that you need to go and say, I can't live in this complete and utter little world that we've just created.
Wow. I can see that that's going to be a problem for some men.
Yes. So there's one problem, which is how do you separate and then how do you negotiate coming back into intimacy? And so lots of people kind of like they get into this strange game of tag, really, where one person says, I just need to go and get a soft drink. And the other person is just chasing after them, right? They
hurt that you've broken the spell.
Hurt, and you've broken the spell, and how could you? And then, the other part of it is when you're trying to negotiate coming back to intimacy, that one person might be saying, I want, and the other person may be saying, I don't want it now, or I want it differently, and like, how are we going to negotiate
they're very
this?
mature thoughts, aren't they?
Yeah. So,
and for the person that just wants to be obsessed over, that's hard. And for the person that only wants to obsess, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can imagine that in Wuthering Heights that they were kind of both obsessed with each other, and they couldn't negotiate the apart, and certainly couldn't negotiate the together again. It was just impossible.
Jacob Elordi, the actor who plays Heathcliff, was asked on the red carpet about the film, and he said, let's put an end to the yearning. If you love someone, tell them. Hold the people you love close. Let's not have yearning.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
I yearned for him after that.
I was going to say, a nice guy.
Yeah, yeah. One final thing that was in this Washington Post article, and this is something that you've said too, Anita. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. You've said that a number of times. And it says here, in the world of romance...
Not about my marriage, though,
No.
Amanda. I just want to be clear here. Emmett, I love you.
No, we've been speaking very generically. But it says, in a world of romance, feeling a lot is always better than feeling just a little. And that's what all the Heathcliffs and the bad boyfriends and the teasers exist to do. They make you feel a lot. Because they love you so much, they have to be bad because they love you so much. They love you so much, they have to treat other people badly. But it's a trap to fall into, isn't it? To need to be stimulated, to feel things all the time. Because as you're saying, that's not realistic.
It's not. I think relationships, long-term relationships, and again, Amanda, I'm sure that you and Harley have had, a very long relationship, as have Emmett and I. And I almost think that there's like seasons to it. That there have been times where Emmett and I have been like so actively and wonderfully in love, and you just feel it, and there's lots of emotion. And then there's times where it, kind of like a winter, where you kind of like, you are still friends, you still love each other, you know that you care for each other, and you're still respectful of each other, but that huge feeling isn't there. And I think after a long time, at least my perspective is that you get back to feeling like that, and
you
maybe
don't panic when you're in the winter.
You don't panic when you're in the winter, and maybe that's when you read your fairy porn and go and see Wuthering Heights and and get stimulated.
Buy some new batteries.
Absolutely. But yeah, just thinking about how all that, because I don't think it's sustainable. I do not think that obsessive relationships are sustainable.
Well, we'd love to know your thoughts. If you've seen the movie, what did you make of it? Were you repulsed by the obsession? Were you attracted by the obsession? What did you make of it? We'd love to know.
Absolutely.
Well, Anita, let's get to our glimmers.
So, Amanda, tell me your glimmer. I'm excited.
My glimmer is that the TV show The Piano is returning on the 15th, ABC iView. All the episodes will be available on that very first day, Sunday the 15th of March. I forgot to say what month, March. And this is season 2, and I had such a beautiful response to season 1. If you haven't seen it, this is a show where we put a public piano in a public place, a shopping centre, a railway station, and people who are part of the show, just ordinary Australians who've been asked to tell us their story about why they love the piano, come down and play the piano and share a story from their life. And it's been the most beautiful show. And I didn't think we could top season 1, but I think we have. Season 2 is extraordinary. And once again, it's people who aren't looking for fame. They're just telling us their story. And I get to hold their hand and cry along with them, laugh along with them. There's lots of tears in this show, but it's not a sad show. A lot of it is you cry because it's so beautiful and it's so uplifting. And so many people tell me now that they've gone back to the piano, or they'd forgotten that they'd had piano lessons when they were much younger, and they're thinking about their grandma who taught them the piano. But the role that music plays in our lives, and just how, what we've always said, you scratch the story and they scratch the surface and everyone has a story.
I am so looking forward to watching it because, every once in a while after a record, you would call me and tell me about, the extraordinary stories that were coming out. And I am just so looking forward to seeing it in all of its glory.
You're going to love it.
Oh, I will.
How about you? What's your glimmer?
So today when we did the podcast, earlier today, I went and saw my amazing physiotherapist, Shauna, and because she's getting me into fighting form.
Not the Olympics.
Oh, yeah, me. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to Canada to go kayaking in a few months, and I will be there for a few weeks, actually. And so I am so excited about doing some kayaking with Emmett and with my younger son, Ben, and his partner, Kate, up in very northern Vancouver Island area. And I'm so excited about it. So that's part of my glimmer. But it also got us to talking, Amanda, is that I will actually have a little bit of time in Canada where I could maybe have a bit of an adventure with a friend, or spend some time at my sister and brother-in-law's horse ranch. But also I was thinking about, do I go and visit some places from my childhood?
People or places?
Places. So I grew up in Edmonton, and we had a cabin that was about a couple of hours north of that, and it was on a very wild part of the world. That there was this big lake that was about 50 kilometers around, and there was about a kilometer of it or so that was inhabited by, had some cabins at it, and it was just such a beautiful place. And we sold it when I was maybe 30, so 35 years ago, I guess. I haven't been back, and
Is it still there?
The lake? Yeah, the lake is
the
there.
cabin?
Yeah, the cabin, I don't know.
Has that whole area been developed?
My mom sold it soon after
Is there
my
a
dad.
Trump Tower?
Yeah, there's probably a Trump Tower. My mom sold it a few years after my dad passed, and so I went up when I knew that we were going to be selling it, and basically said goodbye to the place, and because it is quite out of the way, it would be a very separate trip to go there. And it was this question about, can you go home again? Can you, or should I? Would this be a place that would I just be disappointed if it had changed significantly, or would it be different in my, than in my mind's eye?
This is like Schrodinger's cat, where a cat's in a box, and until you open the box, it's both alive and dead.
Yep.
And at this stage, if you go there and find it's disappointing, you'll
Yep.
wish you hadn't gone. But if
Yep.
you go there and have a wonderful time, you'll be thrilled you did.
Yeah.
So who
yeah.
can make that decision for you?
Well,
Schrodinger, get him here.
or the teacups.
Bloody cat.
Or the teacups.
Oh, ask the
Yeah.
teacups. Ask the
Mhm.
wise teacups.
This is a bigger question, I think, Amanda, is, the bigger question of, can you go home? So maybe helping me figure out, should I do that? I don't know what I feel about it right now. It's just a thought I had. But I would love, in a bigger way, to kind of get some opinions on, can you go home again? Is it a good thing to do? Is it something that maybe just sitting with memories from 35 years ago and just being okay with that?
Well, we'd love to hear all of that from you. Should Anita spend that day shoe shopping instead, or buying gifts for her friend Amanda? That would be my opinion.
We know your vote.
Love you. See you next week.
Love you. Bye.